committee meeting. This meeting is being held remotely and members are in attendance via video conferencing. The meeting is being live streamed on the authority's website and will also be available for repeated viewing. Those participating in the meeting are consenting to being recorded and use of those images for broadcasting purposes. I will begin by reading the names of the members on the committee so that they can confirm their attendance for the public record. It's myself as chairman, Councillor Roger Price. The vice chairman is Councillor Jonathan Glenn. Can you hear? Thank you, Jonathan. Councillor Ros Chad, who has given her apologies. Councillor Sharon Mintoff. Sharon, you can hear us?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Chair.
Sharon. And Councillor Vivian Vaughan.
Present, Chairman.
Thank you, Vivian. Any voting will be conducted by Katie Sherwood, the Democratic and Member Service Officer, and then the results confirmed before moving on to the next item on the agenda. I would like to remind members that the Constitution and standing orders will apply. Please keep your microphones muted unless you have been called to speak, and that you may be visible on the screen to the public and to other members even when you are not speaking. Right, the first item on the agenda is apologies. So I don't think Ros is here. So if, we've got Ros Chad's apologies for the meeting as it is clashed with a other county council meeting. There's no other apologies. Declarations of interest. Members will normally disclose any declarations when we get to the item in question, but are there any that you wish to disclose now? No, I see no hands up. Minutes of the previous meeting. Do any members have any comments on the minutes of the 25th of September? I will go through them page by page. Page 3 and 4. Doesn't appear any comments.
Chairman. Okay with them.
Okay, does everybody agree that they are a correct record?
Yes.
Agreed? Right. The next item, item 4, is deputations. There are no deputations. Chairman's communications, item 5. I'd like to welcome and introduce Rob Goldsmith. This is Rob's first meeting with us. As if you remember, before we were in the process of appointing a chief executive to 3S Fire, and Rob was the successful candidate, and he's here today in that capacity, and you can obviously all see him on the screen for the very first time. So I would also like to acknowledge and thank all the staff of 3S Fire during the problems we've had with COVID, because they've all been furloughed, and that has put tremendous pressure upon the company. So I'd like to sort of acknowledge and say thank you to all of the staff for what they've been doing during the period. But when we get round to some of the other reports, Steve, I'm sure, will expand more on that of what actually is happening. So we go then to item 6, is the business update and mitigation of COVID-19. Steve, I think you're going to give us a verbal report on this one.
Yep, thank you, Chairman and members. I'll just keep this brief because I'm actually going to take the liberty, and you've already introduced Rob. And when I look back at the minutes, which was over a year ago of the previous meeting, and we think what a year it's been for the company. I was appointed chairman in that time as well of the board. What I will do is, I'm not going to steal any of Rob's thunder, because Rob's going to give a detailed report around, one, the business, also the way the business has coped during the global pandemic that all of us are aware of, but also then a forward look as well. So some quite key business points. I think for me as chairman of the board, I just want to highlight 3 key things, Chairman, if you don't mind.
Yes.
One is, and you've just touched on it yourself, one is the team, the very small team that makes up the company. When COVID landed, as chairman of the board, acting in the best interest, and I felt for Rob. Rob had not long landed as our new managing director, and I'll come to Rob in a second. That's my second point. The team showed incredible flexibility, adaptability, and took personal accountability as well. A number of staff were furloughed. Rob will go into more detail around that, but also all the staff then flexed and adapted over and above to make sure the company, one, survived, but as we'll hear later, also continued to thrive. I set a challenge around the viability of the company, and I needed that reassurance on your behalf so that the company was able to survive the challenges that COVID threw. For example, the fire service, we took the decision within the service, as you'll be aware, to stop any activity in our stations, and that had a direct impact on the company. So I think my first reflection is to record our thanks for the staff of the company for their fortitude. Secondly, and I will embarrass Rob, what Rob has brought to the company is that professionalism of a managing director. That's not an expertise that I have with 31 years in the fire service, but Rob, as you rightly said, Chairman, arrived as our MD, and I think it's absolutely paid dividends to us to have that expertise and that skill during the most challenging period for any small enterprise. And we've seen many SMEs and many large companies fail to survive everything the pandemic has thrown at it. And I'm sure Rob will in his own update, give some insight into how the company has managed to come out and looks like we're coming out the other side of this stronger. And I will embarrass Rob by just saying that's down to leadership, but not just his own managing director leadership, but also his understanding the landscape in which we operate. So it was a personal thanks to Rob for that. And I think the third strand for me is that we continue to take a longer term look at the business. And I know that's going to be discussed later on as part of this agenda. So for me as chairman of the board, we reflect back on a tumultuous year, the most challenging year any small business could possibly face, as all of us have faced. But I think what you'll hear and read as part of the briefing from Rob is a company that comes out the other side of this as a stronger business. That's it from me, Chairman, if that's okay. Mine's a very short, brief overview, but to reflect on exceptional times. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Steve. Do members note the update from Steve, or are there any questions you wish to ask?
Noted.
Thank you. If there's no questions, we're moving then to item 7, which is the exclusion of the press and the public. To resolve that the public be excluded from the meeting during the following items of business, as it is likely in the view and the nature of the business to be transacted, or the nature of the proceedings, that if members of the public were present during these items, there would be disclosures to them of exempt information within paragraph 3 of part 1 of schedule 12A to the Local Government Act 1972, and further that in all of the circumstances of the case, the public interest in maintaining the exemption overweighs the public interest in disclosing the information for the reasons set out in the reports. Do the committee agree to exclude the press and the public?
Agreed, Chairman.
Agreed.
Any, Meridian, are you happy? You're muted.
Agreed.
Great. Thank you very much. At that point, then, the press and the public are excluded for the remainder of our meeting. Can I know that the webcasting of this meeting is stopped?